Today is Sunday, April 29th, 2012. We are at the Yechiel Foundation. We are continuing with the secrets of the Zohar. Today, we're going to talk about a topic. This topic begins with the subject of prayer, a very important topic. And we will also talk about the salvation of the world, another very important topic. Especially now that there are so many rumors about 2012, the Mayan calendar, the end of the world, the end of humanity. There are lots of rumors among the circles of researchers and people with curiosities. You can read a great deal about it online. Here, it's something that will give us peace of mind about all that. The Zohar tells us that after the destruction of the temple, where the people made sacrifices, because in the time of sacrifices, prayer did not exist. Prayer came to replace the sacrifices that were made in the temple. In other words, the strength of one's lips, prayer, and meditation during prayer is what replaced the sacrifices of the priests in the temple, first in the temple of Solomon, and later in the temple of Ezra, the second temple. And here it says something very interesting that merits a closer look. It says that the Shechina, which is a Kabbalistic word that translates literally as the divine presence in this physical world, the Zohar says that the Shechina is the sacrifice of God. That the Shechina is the sacrifice of God. That is, men performed sacrifices, which would now be substituted by prayer. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our Creator, also performed sacrifices, which is the creation of the Shechina. And this seems like something very difficult to understand. How could it be that God performed sacrifices? So, we're going to understand it. To understand a concept in the Torah, and above all in the Kabbalah, we must enter into the etymology of the word. So, in Hebrew, the word for sacrifice is korbanot. The origin of the word is karov, that is, to come near, approach. What does this mean? That sacrifices had the goal of approaching the Creator. And if the Creator performs a sacrifice, his goal is to approach humanity. So, he created the Shechina to approach humanity, and we create prayer, a substitute for the old sacrifices, to approach God. Where is the meeting point? In the Shechina. We will meet in the Shechina, and that is the divine presence in the world. In other words, each one covers a stretch of the road to meet at the meeting point. That is sacrifice. So to begin, Zohar tells us that any sacred act must be done in the presence of 10 men, or a minyan. So why must 10 men come together to form a minyan? 10 men of the Hebrew people to form a minyan, 10 circumcised men, and over 13 years old. Why? Because when 10 men come together below, it means that 10 angels have gathered above. That is the critical mass necessary for prayer to be taken to the Creator. If you remember that class we had, I think it was last Tuesday, wasn't it? Tuesday of last week, on the Mashiach, we talked about the Shechina. Does anyone remember what the Shechina was? Yes, the matrix, the divine matrix, the empty space between atoms, that is everything, that is an intelligent essence. that physicists thought at first did not exist, but now they have realized through scientific tests that it is intelligent and that it does react to our DNA and it reacts to our emotions. So that essence called ether, that is now called divine matrix, which is very intelligent and that interpenetrates us, and we also interpenetrate it, is interactive, that it reacts to our reaction and we react to its reaction. That is what we call Shechina. That essence that occupies everything in space, even inside us, is what is called Shechina. So, what has God created? He has created that intelligent essence to approach men, the essence of men, and men impact that essence with their prayers and their kavanah, that is, their intention. The word kavanah comes from the word kivun, which means to aim, as one would aim an arrow. That is, we have an impact on that void, and that void, which is intelligent, reacts in us by creating events. And if we know how to impact that Shechina very well, we could perform miracles all the time. The thing is, many people go to pray and get no result. Many people petition and get no result. And in today's class, in the meditations, we will see how to get an immediate result. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Zohar continues by telling us that the middle column of the tree of life, you know what the tree of life is like, no? The middle column has some sefirot, which are called Keter, an invisible sefirah called Da'at, Tiferet, Yesod, and Malchut. That middle column, the Zohar tells us, is the firstborn of Akadosh Baruch Hu. It is the firstborn of Akadosh Baruch Hu. And who is the firstborn of Akadosh Baruch Hu? The people of Israel. So why are the people of Israel the firstborn of Akadosh Baruch Hu? Because if we take the first letter of the Sefirah Dat, which is Dalet, the first letter of the Sefirah Tiferet, which is Taf, and the first letter of the Sefirah Yesod, which is Yud, we get the word Dati, religious. The religious, righteous Jew is the one who fulfills the middle column. In other words, he who fulfills the rules set out in the Torah. But Kabbalists say that there is a great difference between the Da'ati, the religious ones, and the Da'ati, in other words, the wise ones. The difference between Dat and Da'at is a single letter, the letter Ain. What is the letter
Ain?
The letter Ain has many secrets. The first secret is that its numerical value is 70, just like the word Sod, which means secret. And the second secret that we're going to reveal here in the letter Ain, that is between Dat, religious, and makes it Da'at, knower. If you spell out the letter Ain, it is written thus: Ain Yud Nun. Ain Yud Nun, we're going to calculate its geometry, its numerical value. The Ain counts for 70, the Yud for 10, and the Nun counts for 50. 130. What? That is true. 130. And what is 130? The latter. 130 is the word Sinai. And Where did Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, receive the Torah? Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. Moses received the Torah from the Sinai. What does this mean? Sinai is worth 130. Samech Yud Nun Yud. Because in Torah, Sinai is spelled with 2 Yudim. So the word Sinai and the word Ain have the same numerical value, 130. And the word Sulam, which means ladder, also has a value of 130. Where do we talk about the ladders? In the ladder of Yaakov, in the dream of Yaakov, where angels ascended and descended. The dream of Yaakov. What is the secret of the letter Ayin that is situated in the middle of the Da'at? And it is then pronounced Da'at instead of Dat. That is, knower instead of religious or righteous. Its strength resides in the shape of the letter Ayin. Do you know the shape of the letter Ayin? Should I tell you? Look, 2 eyes and the optic nerve. In other words, the capacity to visualize, the capacity to see, but not to see with outer eyes, but with the inner eye. And he who can see with the inner eye develops a power that can interpenetrate the Shechina. Yes? Is the Ayin also related with the Sephirah Binah? Because it is Saturn that reigns. It's Ayin, isn't it? Yes, and Binah is the world of visualization, a world beyond logic. Correct. So let's continue with the demonstration. So, what does the Zohar say? The Zohar says that the firstborn is the people of Israel, and that he is the tree of life. The people of Israel is the tree of life. The tree of life is what nurtures all worlds. What worlds are we referring to? Not just the physical, but also spiritual worlds. Because if we don't take energy from those spiritual worlds, this physical world dries out. If there is drought in the physical world, it is because there is spiritual drought. And if there is spiritual drought, it is because the people of Israel don't know how to use the tool given to them, the Torah, which teaches them to bring that source of blessings down to all worlds. That is why the Kabbalah is indispensable. And here, it says something that's very beautiful. A complete sentence from the Zohar. I will pronounce it, translate it. It says, when man wants his prayers to reach heaven, he must first merge with the Shechina and use it like a sling. The sling is a tool used like a slingshot to hurl stones, to launch a stone against the serpent. How can we explain that? Isn't that what David did to Goliath? David did this to Goliath, and using a sling and a stone, he defeated a one-eyed giant. But here it is saying that you first must merge with the Shechina before praying. First meditate. You have to merge with the Shechina, because if not, your prayer will not enter into that void. Questions later, okay? Write them down, because if not, we won't even cover 3 pages. And then, you must use that Shechina and use it like a sling against the serpent. So now, we have to explain what the serpent is. What is the sling? It's a tool that enables you to reach something that you can't reach with your hand. Like a slingshot. If I want to hit a vase on the other side of the room, I can't reach it with my hand. I need a slingshot or a sling to hurl the stone much further than my natural reach. Therefore, prayer must be like a sling. In other words, I must take my thought and my words that will come out of my mouth in my prayer and have them catapulted into a world called the serpent. In other words, I have to hit the serpent. What is the serpent? The serpent is an intelligence that seeks to thwart the plans of mankind. Where does the serpent appear? In the Garden of Eden. God gave Adam a plan. The serpent schemed machiavellically, seeking another plan to thwart man's plan and God's plan and defeat their purpose. What does prayer do? It disrupts that evil plan of the serpent, of those negative intelligences that hate man and don't let man reach his goals. Prayer is what will keep barriers from being put in front of our goal. If not, have you noticed up to now that life is a path full of obstacles? We have goals, and then there are obstacles that keep us from reaching them. That is the serpent. Prayer, when properly done, will frustrate the plan that is meant to disrupt our goals. That is, it is going to frustrate the serpent. And now, the question, why must there be negative intelligences that block our lives? Because if the negative intelligences that thwart our goals did not exist, we would all meet our goals. We would be happy. But by having unmet goals, it causes unhappiness. It causes fear, anxiety, stress. It creates a complicated life. Where do those forces that aim to defeat all our plans come from? That generate delays for us, that generate tension for us, that generate wants for us, that generate health problems, money problems, family problems for us. Where do they come from? Notice, for example, in the history of the Torah, Abraham could not have children. Sarah was 90. She could not bear children. She was barren. Infertility is a thwarted plan. One wants to bear children and cannot. 3 angels came and removed the serpent's negative plan and enabled Sarah to bear a child. There, we learn something, that prayer creates those angels. The same angels that allowed Abraham to have children when he could not, our prayer, if properly done, will have the same effect. It generates angels that enable things that, apparently, we had as closed or blocked scenarios. So here we see that there is a great battle between good and evil. What is good? It is a situation in which there are no obstacles. What is evil? A situation in which there are obstacles. And who are the two angels that will remove the obstacles? In reality, they are two angels and a special being called Mashiach. One angel is Metatron, the other is Sandalphon, and the Mashiach. Those are the three that disable the serpent. Metatron and Sandalphon. Would they be the sling in your example? They would be the stone. The stone. And that is what is called redemption. What is redemption? Redemption is a world in which there are no longer obstacles. When one has a goal, it is fulfilled. But it's also a world in which there are no goals of hate, only goals of love. Be careful with that. The mechanism does not work with goals of hate. It only works with goals of love. Here, on the topic of prayer, the Zohar says the following. I'll read it literally. The serpent is powerless to attack man when the thought of the man who prays, the man or woman who is praying, is directed toward the letter Yud. And then the question arises. When you pray toward the letter Yud, the serpent is powerless to block anything of yours. It can't. Now, we need to decode this again. My master once told me that all Hebrew letters begin with a Yud. Any stroke of any letter begins with a Yud. What is the Yud? The Yud is called Chokhmah. In other words, the letter must be associated with a meditation. He who meditates at the same time he prays makes the serpent powerless against him. Now, let's continue with the topic of prayer. You've seen that when people are praying, the Amidah, for example, the most central prayer, in which we are standing, praying with our feet together, it's called the Amidah. At that time, we must imagine ourselves standing before our Creator. When we say the three words, Baruch Atah Hashem, Baruch Atah Adonai, at that moment, we must, how do you say it? Bow. What? The knees, the body, the trunk, ankles, and the toes. 6 joints that must be put in motion to perform that bow. Why? Because those 6 joints are linked to the 6 sephirot that unite the world of above with that of below. And every time we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, we bring a blessing from above to below through the 6 joints that are put in motion. And those 6 joints unite the Shechina, the world in which we live, with that intelligent void, with the world of Atzilut, the world of above. For the world of above and below to unite, we must move those 6 joints. That means that the human body is a machine to convey blessings from above to below. That's very interesting. And now we come to the most beautiful part of the story. Zohar Ha Kadosh tells us that the word Bereshit, the first word of Genesis, poorly translated as in the beginning, inside the word Bereshit is the word Berit, alliance, and the word Esh, the alliance of fire. What alliance are we referring to? The world was created with an alliance. Fire always represents the deepest spirituality, the opposite of ice, which represents the deepest cold. Something cold is something distant from spirituality, and something warm is very close to spirituality. The elements are symbols. Fire represents the maximum spirituality. Ice represents the minimum spirituality. So, Berit Esh, the two words that come from the word Bereshit, the alliance of fire. What alliance is it talking about? The alliance of uniting two things, because an alliance is always between two things. It's allied, or Akadosh Baruch Hu forged the alliance of the creation of the world with esoteric doctrine. He united the creation of the world with the secrets of the Kabbalah. That is how the world was created. A marriage. Because the alliance of fire is the alliance of spirituality, as the Kabbalah is the soul of the Torah. He created the world with the secrets of the Kabbalah. He allied the two. Zohar Ha Kadosh says something amazing. It says, without this alliance, there would not be day, night, sky, or earth. In other words, the world would disappear. Without Kabbalah, the world disappears. And it says that without Kabbalah, life would have no meaning. And here, we must be careful. We're talking about the end of the world. It says, before creating this world, God created worlds and destroyed them. And why did he destroy them? Zohar Ha Kadosh says, it was because they were not linked with the Kabbalah. As they were not linked with the Kabbalah, he destroyed them. The world that God has created with our generation, that is the past 6,000 years, is linked with the Kabbalah. Therefore, it can't be destroyed. This world can't disappear. So forget about the end of the world. It's impossible. As long as there's Kabbalah, the end of the world is impossible. Because of all the worlds God created and destroyed, there was no Kabbalah. But this world does have Kabbalah. The proof is here in us studying the Kabbalah, though that may displease many people. And now, listen to the words of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who says, because a world without Kabbalah would be a world of demons, that is, only inhabited by destructive spirits. And he says, you must live surrounded by Kabbalists and never cease studying the Kabbalah to prevent the demons from approaching your surroundings. What are demons? Harmful spirits, non-embodied spirits. The world is full of them, densely populated with them. And he said that Akadosh Baruch Hu wanted to trust the Gentiles with the Kabbalah, the Goyim, before offering it to the Jews. He went to see the Gentiles and said, I give you the Kabbalah, so you're not surrounded by demons. Just one condition: be circumcised. Their response? No. The Gentiles said no. The Kabbalah was withdrawn, because the Kabbalah must be associated with circumcision. God did not want the world to suffer the same fate as the former worlds. That is why it was offered to the Gentiles. And since they refused, the fate of the survival of this world is in the hands of Jewish Kabbalists. And that is where our amazing responsibility resides. That the world depends on Jewish Kabbalists. It's a responsibility that's very difficult to bear, because this world is suffering a great deal. And he said, the pagans who did not want to accept salvation via circumcision will be arid and infertile. That is, there will be no channel for blessings to come down to their people, which is what caused empires to fall. The Persian, Greek, Babylonian, and Roman empires all fell. They all fell. Why? Because they did not link Kabbalah with this world, and since the world was created, Berit Esh, with the alliance of the Kabbalah, so, as they did not forge this alliance, they cut off the channels of blessings. And here it talks about those who fled Egypt with the Jews, but who were not Jews, who were Egyptian pagans, about whom God said, don't accept them. And they are called Erev Rav, which in Hebrew means the great evening. There is a small evening and a great evening. What is the great evening? It goes from Chatzot, the middle of the day, when the sun is highest, that is where midday begins, until the first half of the evening. That is called the great evening. No, that is the great evening. The first part is the great evening. The second part is called the small evening. The great evening is when malignant spirits of earth were released. What did the Egyptian pagans do? They used those spirits for their own material gain. And that was a great offense to the Creator. When do Kabbalists work? The opposite. They work right before dawn and at dawn. And the Erev Rav can be divided into 5 categories. And all of them are very harmful. 1, the first category, is called Nephilim, translated as the fallen. The second category of Erev Rav are the Giborim, translated as the mighty ones. The third category of Erev Rav are called the Amalekim, the Amalekites of Amalek, sworn enemies of the Jews. The fourth category of Erev Rav are the Anakim, the tall ones. And the fifth category of Erev Rav are the Rephaim, the giants. Those souls from those 5 categories are at the head of the enemies of Israel. And where do those 5 categories come from? They come from 2 fallen angels, one called Azah, and the other called Azael. From Azah and Azael are born the Nephilim, Giborim, Amalekim, Anakim, and Rephaim. Those two angels did not want man to be more than the angels. They came down to the earth to degrade man. They are the ones that block man. Azah and Azael, that's the serpent. And that is why we had rituals to snuff out the force of Azah and Azael. So, I don't know if you want me to tell you about the destructive strategies of each of these 5 categories, how they act against men. The Nephilim, the first category, the fallen, they accuse man and covet the women of men, the women of the earth. They wanted to mate with the women of the earth. They wanted giants. The Giborim are the ones that built the Tower of Babel to defy God. They seek to lodge themselves in the bodies of those who seek honors for themselves. They seek honors for themselves by building synagogues, by building schools, by publishing books about the Torah, by being very ostentatious, but only for their own honor, not to do people good. They seek glory through the Torah. Instead of the glory of God, they seek their own glory. They are the vessels of Giborim who come and lodge themselves inside men. Then we have the Rephaim. They put Israel in situations of, how do you say, distress. Situations of trouble, desolation. And they abandon the Kabbalah and make others abandon the Kabbalah. They are the souls of the Rephaim. They discourage you? Yes. And they are the ones who encourage the Gentiles to attack Kabbalists. All enemies of the Kabbalah are Rephaim. They come and, what? The Rephaim. The Anakim are similar to the Rephaim. They have caused the destruction of the temple. The Anakim. Anakim, and their translation is the tall ones. They had the idea of destroying the temple. The temple was a machine to channel blessings. They cut off the flow of blessings for all mankind. They are very harmful souls who don't want men to succeed. Why not? Because they wanted to be superior to men. But God made men superior to angels. But there are angels who don't want men to be superior to them. Therefore, they come to earth to put men in situations of trouble and anguish. Then come the Amalekim, the Amalekites. They have 3 techniques. They sow doubt in the minds of the Jewish people. They curse, and they use the evil eye. So, with so many enemies, how could we not have obstacles in our lives? What do you think? Mashiach will have to come with Sandalphon and Metatron and take the Nephilim, Giborim, Amalekim, Anakim, Rephaim, and cut off their heads out of this world. Because you do nothing but disturb man. And as soon as we do away with these 5 categories of harmful angels, the world will be an Eden. But how do they do it? By incarnating themselves into people? They incarnate themselves and induce people to do things. They are the ones who are responsible for the earth being populated with demons. So, with that, we'll stop here, take a break, because I think this is all quite dense. Good thing you have a question. I'm listening. Who prayed for Sarah to bear children? Because Sarah did not want to. She laughed at the angels. Who prayed? She did not pray. She had doubts, and when she heard the angels, she laughed. You need to understand that Abraham, before the episode with Sarah and his son, Abraham found God. What does that mean? He meditated and achieved a connection with the Shechina. And I said that all prayer must be preceded by a connection with the Shechina. That means he connected with the Shechina. Phase 1. Phase 2. He made a sacrifice. Because then there were no prayers. There were sacrifices. Do you know what his first sacrifice was? To destroy all the statues of his father, who was a sculptor, and pit everyone against him. He sacrificed his honor. He sacrificed his family. He sacrificed everything. So what did he do? Both things. A connection with the Shechina and a korban. That's it. The angels came to him. Prayer comes later. Later, when there are no more sacrifices. It came to substitute sacrifice. What do you think of this subject from the Zohar? It makes us see things more clearly, doesn't it? And all of these have come out of Egypt? These are the Erev Rav. Are there many mixed among the people of Israel? Yes, it's like I said. But there are also many outside Israel. They're harming all of humanity, but not only inside the people. They're also outside. They are populating the whole earth. Well, what if there was a source? Until we get rid of Azah and Azael, we won't have a life without obstacles. There will always be obstacles. And does the Korban of Kippur have anything to do with it? Of course. Everything we do in Kippur, the reading of the Parashah of Kippur and all the prayers of Kippur is to do away with Azah and Azael. That is why the people of Israel prevail, because they pray to get rid of those two harmful angels. I have a pedagogical problem to convey a message to you, and I don't know how to convey it with words. I have a pedagogical problem. Try it. We have three types of vibrations. We have called them in the previous class electromagnetism combined with gravity. Brain, heart, liver. Do you remember? Yes. So, the cerebral subject is very easy because everyone, intellectually, can understand what a meditation is with certain letters, what a visualization is taking the light from the letters and passing it through the brain, heart, and liver. Intellectually, that much we can do. Then there are two things that are very difficult to explain. One, we have to generate an emotion, a feeling. But feeling that I can't explain with words. I have to demonstrate it. If not, you won't be able to understand what that feeling is. It's what will activate the magnetism of the heart. Without that type of feeling, prayer and or meditation will have no result. You won't understand that feeling until you see it. And when we go to the liver, then you have to make the feelings of the belly work. That is also very hard to explain, because there it is visceral. It's no longer sentimental, it's visceral. That's where the mechanism of the liver, the energy of the liver, the gravity, where what we have visualized and felt will be materialized. So, an intellect enters, that is a superior intellect, that of the right brain. A feeling enters that until now I have not explained. Then the visceral part enters, and I haven't explained that either. Let's see how I explain it now. So, frankly, it's going to be hard for me. The meditation part with words will suffice. For the feeling part, we need a mantra. Please, we need a mantra. That is, a word that generates that feeling. What word? And we look, and we look, and that word that generates that feeling must say that we have achieved something and that there is no doubt. Because remember that there is an angel that wants to sow doubt. What was the name of that angel that sows doubt? Amalekim. Amalek will try to sow doubt in you. You have to come up with a word that blocks him, that keeps him out, so no doubt can come in. Because when doubt comes in, the materialization of your prayer won't work. And I found an extraordinary word, which are the initials of
Vayvarich.
David et Adonai.
Vayvarich.
David et Adonai. The initials are
Vayvarich.
Vav, David Dalet, Et Aleph. Adonai is Yud Che Vav Che, that is Yud. Vadai. What does Vadai mean in Hebrew? Vadai. When you're in a conversation in Hebrew and you say Vadai, it means for sure, Vadai. Are you sure about this? Vadai, certainly I am. This word, Vadai, you have to give it a dimension that takes you to an amazing feeling. And then the body has to vibrate, which is the visceral part, just like it does in a sexual orgasm. Because until it vibrates with the vibration of an orgasm, not talking about sexuality right now, just talking about a vibration, you won't materialize. So, look, you have to meditate with the Hebrew letters. You have to generate a feeling that breaks Amalek, and then your body has to vibrate as if in orgasm. How can I do all that with my brain, heart, and liver? Then yes, then it materializes right away. It's very difficult to explain. Just explaining it is very difficult. The word will help us. And the union of the hearts, when we unite the hearts with the golden thread, we will use the magnetism of all the hearts. The word Echad will enable us to materialize the Keter Malchut. The word Vadai will enable us to have an unshakable faith that is be able to break Amalek and give the heart a feeling. It's beautiful, Vadai. Vadai are the initials
Vayvarech.
David et Adonai. Then, I have it here somewhere. We must create another mantra or a name of God that makes HaKadosh Baruch Hu unable to deny it. Just a moment. I'm looking for it. Here, let me tell you something. I have deep love for children. If any child asks me for something, I'll give it to them. But if it's my son, I'll give him even more. I can't say no to my son. He is my flesh and blood. Right? Right? It must be something visceral, something that unites you to the DNA of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It has to be a Shem that makes God say, this is my son. I can't say no to him. Not someone else's son. I could say yes to someone else's son too. But if it's your son from your flesh, your belly, you cannot say no to him. When does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, my son, my only son, to Yitzhak? Take your son, your only son. So, from my belly. In the beginning of the prayer, it says, Bincha. Bincha is your son, from Bin. Bincha, your son. Yetkicha, from only. Yetkicha. Bincha, Yetkicha. That is your son, your only son. And then, in Bincha et Yetkidcha, I will take the vowels of Bincha et Yetkidcha, and I will place them in Yud Chevavche. It gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? Yes. And since Bincha has 3 vowels, and Etkidcha has 3 vowels, I will write Yud Chevavche for Bincha, and another Yud Chevavche for Yerkidcha, and it will give me this. And so, then I will go see God with the vowels of Bincha and Yerkidcha, my belly, my liver, my belly, and that is where I place the gravity. There, he cannot deny you. Do you get it? So, the vowels of Bincha et Yetkidcha are as follows. Bincha is the E of the I, 1 point below. Then Sheva, Bincha, Sheva, and Kamatz. Bincha would be these 3 vowels. Then I only have to put the name of God here. I put the Yud, the Che, the Vav, and the last Che has no vowel. I now have Bincha. I have the vowels of Bincha and Yud, Che, Vav, Che. Do you follow? Yes. Where did you put the Vav? Here, on top of the Vav has Kamatz, Bincha, and now Yerkidcha. The vowels are Yerkidcha is Sheva, Ye, the A are 2 vertical dots. Yerkidcha, then the chirik, and I, and then the kamat, yed chika, and the dalet, but it has no vowel. What? Nothing. We must invert the yud, and here you would have bincha, yedchicha. I've taken the vowels. My son, my only son. Then one thing is that he's your son, and another is that he's your only son. There is no other son. Then he is a spoiled child. We all know that only children are more spoiled or pampered than those that have 6 or 7 siblings. What? So if I call Akadosh Baruch Hu with the vowels of the pampered child, he cannot deny you. This is the part about the belly. Vadai is the part that has to do with the heart. And the letters we're going to meditate, Lamed Vav Vav, is the connection with God. So with Lamed Vav Vav, we are going to do the brain, heart, liver meditation. With the pronunciation of Vadai, we are going to create a very strong feeling. We are going to repeat it many times. And when we go to the liver, we must think of Bincha et Yetkicha, the only son. Do you follow? Or is it too complicated? Echad. Yes. We will say Echad when we merge our hearts. Could you repeat it, please? The theoretical part, the order. We'll close our eyes. We'll meditate. We'll take deep breaths before visualizing. And we will begin to visualize a red thread uniting the hearts to add up the magnetic strength of the hearts. A golden thread. A golden thread. You said red. Well, I must be tired then. No, we understand. I must be very tired. So, a golden thread. Once we've run the golden thread through the hearts, we will pronounce the word Echad, so that the hearts will be only one, and for all to connect from Keter Malchut. Then we will begin with the meditation Lamed Vav Vav. Up to there, no problem. We know how to meditate the name of God, which is the name of God in the connection, Lamed Vav Vav. And once we have meditated Lamed Vav Vav, we pass it through brain, heart, and liver. Then we will begin to make a petition, each of us, whatever we want. In that petition, we will pronounce the word Vadai repeatedly and insistently as if we were saying, Mama, give me my bottle. We'll see if any mother can say no when their child asks for their bottle. That'd be difficult. Vadai must be asked with the same insistence. Imagine you are a 1-year-old asking for your bottle. Pronounced out loud, pronounce Vadai, Vadai, Vadai with the word Vadai. Once we have passed that emotional state, we'll go to the visceral state, and we will begin to think of my son, my only son. I am your son, your only son. And Yud Chevavche with those vowels. And we will have passed through the whole process. Do we petition for one thing? No, you have to do it all, the whole process. No, the petition. One or several petitions. If you do several, you make it confusing. It would be good to do a single petition, and it would be good to do a single collective petition. What could it be? Well, I'll tell you. We'll ask for God's promise of Berit Esh to be fulfilled. That is, that the Kabbalah be associated with this world, that it be disseminated throughout this world, and that this world have no end. Is that good enough for you? Yes. It's very lovely. But you can use the process for whatever you want. because now you know the secret of how things are materialized. There's a lot of engineering to it. You weren't expecting that, were you? I couldn't say it last time because it's too long. It's a whole other class in itself. You said that Taftafia opened the world. Don't complicate things for me. No, we're not going to do it like that. We'll start by bringing our hearts together. And Taftafia is not to enter the Shechina, it's to connect with the
Tzadikim.
So it's something else, do you understand? Do you want me to write out the whole meditation on the board? Yes. Yes? With the golden thread, we're going to complete Echad. When we're meditating Lamed Vav Vav, there will be a moment in which we will have to say Vadai, Vav Dalet Aleph Yud. By saying, you mean pronouncing it out loud? Yes, you will pronounce it aloud with me. And then, once it has gone through the liver, you will have to visualize first the word Bincha et Yetkircha, my son, my only son, and see the vowels in Yuv, He, Vav, He. And again in Yuv, He, Vav, He. Once for Bincha and another for Yetkircha. Could you draw a He? A He? I'll write it. Here, right? Yes. Can you see it? Yes. So this is an advanced meditation. Now, you have to see this done. It's not enough just to say it. Let's go. Let's close our eyes and place our hands palms up, our feet firmly on the floor, parallel to each other, with a straight trunk. And we will take 3 deep breaths. Again. Again. Now we will take a golden thread, pure energy, link our hearts together with it, and wrap it around all those present, counterclockwise. And it begins to spin as if each heart were a pearl, and the sum of all the pearls made a necklace of golden light linking the hearts. Now, repeat with me. Again. We continue to see this thread spinning. Again. Now, we visualize ourselves inside a golden star of David. And we call the letters. We call the letter Lamed. It comes in white. We illuminate it. We call the letter Vav. We illuminate it. We call the letter Vav again. We illuminate it. And this is to connect with God and to ask for the redemption of the world. And we now have Lamed, Vav, Vav. We will unite the illuminated wick of the Lamed and the light of the Vav, and the light of the other Vav, into a single light that comes out of the Star of David, that acts like a screen and is attracted by the Star of David, where we are lodged. And the light will enter through the upper tip of the Star of David and will enter through our skulls, illuminating the skull. And it goes to the heart, illuminating the heart. We leave it in the heart. And now we make the petition that this world be Brit Esh, that is, that it form alliance with the Kabbalah, that the Kabbalah be disseminated, that the world be protected and have no end, that there be no pain, no wars, no disasters, and all the Erev Rav disappear from our surroundings, our galaxy, our dimension. And now we have Lamed Vav Vav inside the heart. And we will give this petition straight by saying Vadai.
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 Louder.
Vadai. Vadai.
Vadai.
Vadai.
We are sure that we have it.
Vadai. Vadai. Vadai.
Now we take it to the liver. Bincha et Yetkidcha. We are the only sons of God, the spoiled child. We cannot be denied. Yud-He Vav-He with Bincha, Yud-He Vav-He with Yetkidcha. It's like a mother who feels her baby in her belly. It's impossible to deny them anything, and that light goes back up to the heart, and goes up to the brain, and goes down to the heart, and goes up to the brain, and goes down to the heart, and goes up to the brain, goes down to the heart, and goes up to the brain. Heart, brain, heart, brain, heart, brain, heart, brain, heart, brain, heart, brain, heart, brain. And we project this light out through the brain. Flakes of energy are falling like snowflakes. Now, all around us, in the center, we're going to place the earth in the center. We form a choir, and from our hearts, a golden light comes out that will illuminate the earth with all the secrets of the Kabbalah to protect it. And we see how we wrap the earth in this strength and say again,
Vadai.
Vadai.
we did it.
Vadai.
It's for sure. There's no doubt.
Vadai.
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 And now I leave you to connect with Metatron and Santafon, who are directing this work. You are in open dialogue with them. They are performing
Birkat HaKohanim.
with this world. We take 3 deep breaths. Again. Again. We open our eyes. This is what you wanted, isn't it? This is what you wanted. Well, now you have it. The mantra is powerful, isn't it? Well, I'll let you breathe a little. Do you know what psychological advantage is? Do you know what psychological advantage is? When someone is threatening you and you threaten them even more, you've taken psychological advantage over them. When they try to coerce you and you coerce them even more, and they are reduced by that. They think they're dominating you, but you have dominated them even more. That is what I heard from Sandalphon and Metatron. For the first time, Azah and Azazel have retreated. That is, man overcame them because they have always tried to intimidate, diminish, have the psychological advantage over man. And now, for the first time, they have left, diminished. We've overcome them, and they had to retreat. Vadai. It's a very interesting concept, that of psychological advantage. It's like if you pull a pistol on me and I pull a cannon on you, you say, I have to back off. I can't fight a cannon with a pistol. You understand? Or if you pull a knife on me and I pull a machine gun on you, I've taken the advantage. You wanted to intimidate me with a knife, but with the machine gun, I intimidate you. They've been intimidating us, but this time it was the other way around. They've lost the battle. So, we'll end the class here. Because Aleph is what changes the word Golah to Geulah. Golah means to be in exile. And you add Aleph, and it gives you Geulah, which is redemption. It's like Met and Imet. When you add Aleph, everything changes. Putting the Aleph inside any circumstance means bringing divine intervention to it. That's the Aleph. You've gone from exile to redemption. Golah and Geulah. Just one letter's difference changes the meaning of the circumstances.
Hazak Baruch.